The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for more than 5,000 years. From the icy moons of Kreta to the shining worlds of Velna, every known civilization lived under its careful guidance. The Council kept peace, managed trade, and welcomed every new intelligent species into its great alliance. For generations, it had worked. Whenever a new race reached space travel, the Council would send envoys bearing gifts and wisdom. There would be speeches, music, and promises of eternal friendship. Every species had joined, some eagerly, some after long talks, but all had accepted. No one ever said no, until now. The first human signal had appeared on the Council's monitoring arrays just 2 galactic cycles ago. It was faint, full of strange codes and bursts of sound waves. The translators worked for months before understanding that the messages came from a single blue planet called Earth. At first, the Council celebrated. A new species had risen, a new civilization to welcome. Ambassador Relthar of the Zeltari volunteered to lead the mission. "They seem curious," he said in the Council chamber, his silver scales glimmering in the blue light. "Their early signals show creativity and courage. They speak of stars, science, and unity. They will make strong allies." The Council agreed without hesitation. Preparations began immediately. A fleet of 12 diplomatic ships was chosen. Each carried translators, cultural experts, and peace banners written in hundreds of galactic languages. The plan was simple: orbit the planet, open contact, and begin the joining ceremony. But things did not go as planned. When the fleet entered the solar system, they found not a young and nervous civilization, but something very different. Around Earth, thousands of metallic satellites glided in perfect formation. Giant defense stations circled the moon. Even Mars had glowing lights and active colonies. Humanity had spread far faster than anyone expected. The fleet sent the traditional greeting signal, a harmless beam of color that announced peace from the Galactic Council. Usually, within hours the new species would respond, but this time nothing happened. No reply. The envoy ships tried again. Still silence. Relthar frowned and turned to his communication officer. "Perhaps their translators cannot understand us. Try a lower frequency. Send mathematical sequences." The officer obeyed. Numbers were the universal language. They sent prime patterns, energy values, and coordinates. Hours passed, then days. Still no reply. The fleet began to worry. "Could they be afraid?" asked one of the younger envoys. "Perhaps they do not know what we are." "Or they know exactly what we are," muttered another. Finally, after a week of silence, a single message appeared on the console. It was not in the Council's universal code, but in a direct and simple human language. The ship's translation AI worked for minutes before displaying the message on the screen. "This is restricted space. Do not approach Earth." Relthar stared at the short line. "That cannot be correct," he whispered. "They refuse us?" He ordered an immediate scan of the planet. Every communication line, every satellite, every signal was analyzed. To the envoy's surprise, Earth was not closed or hidden. It was full of open broadcasts. Music, news, and stories flowed between the colonies and stations. Humanity was active, creative, and strong. Yet not one of their messages mentioned the Galactic Council. It was as if they didn't care. Back in the Council's capital world, Karshan, the news spread quickly. Reports filled the airwaves. "New species discovered," said one headline. "Humans ignore all diplomatic contact." Another report read, "First rejection in galactic history. Council demands explanation." In the Grand Chamber, representatives from every race gathered. Their faces showed worry, confusion, and fear. The tall, elegant Ceralians folded their wings tightly, while the tiny crystalline Farans blinked nervously in the light. Council leader Orlith, a wise being with golden skin, spoke in a calm but heavy tone. "Friends, this situation is without precedent. The humans have not attacked, but neither have they accepted contact. Their silence is unusual." An elder from the Velna sector rose. "Perhaps they are shy or still adjusting to interstellar life." Another voice, sharper and colder, interrupted. "Or perhaps they think they are above us. Maybe they believe they need no council." The room erupted in uneasy murmurs. Pride and fear mixed in the air. The council was not used to being ignored. Ambassador Relthar stepped forward, still wearing his ceremonial cloak. "I met their silence personally. I do not think it is pride or fear." Their message was calm and direct. They warned us not to approach. It was not an act of aggression. It was a statement of boundaries. Boundaries? One delegate asked. No species has ever refused the Council's welcome. It is our duty to bring unity to the stars. Relthar lowered his gaze. Perhaps humanity believes unity is not built through orders or alliances. The room fell silent. After long debate, the Council agreed to send one final message, a direct call from the highest authority. It would be simple, honest, and open. We come in peace. We wish to understand your people. Please let us meet. The message was sent using every frequency, every code known across the galaxy. The Council waited for hours, then for a day, then for 2. Finally, a reply came. Your understanding is not required. Respect our space. Do not interfere. No threats. No emotion. Just firm words. The Council chamber trembled with whispers. Unthinkable. Impossible. They insult the entire galaxy. Leader Orlith raised a hand to calm them. We will not act in anger, he said. We must learn who these humans truly are. Send our observers to study their worlds from afar. Do not engage. Do not provoke. Thus began the silent observation. Across months, Council probes watched as humanity expanded. They built cities on Mars, mining stations on the moons of Jupiter, and even small colonies beyond Pluto. Their ships moved fast and in perfect coordination. They shared knowledge among themselves, but never sent a single message to outsiders. Council scientists were amazed. Human technology was unique, different from anything known. Their energy systems were efficient, their AI controlled and disciplined, their communication methods encrypted beyond decoding. Yet, despite their power, humans showed no sign of hostility. They defended their space but never attacked anyone. One Farron researcher commented, "They are like a storm, quiet before the thunder, but never striking without reason." Another replied, "Perhaps the thunder will never come. Perhaps they have found peace we do not understand." Still, fear spread. Civilizations that once felt safe under the Council's rule now questioned their leaders.
What if the humans are planning something?
What if they are building weapons? Why won't they talk? Trade routes slowed. Rumors grew. Even peaceful species began to arm their ships. The idea of a silent, powerful, and independent humanity unsettled everyone. On Earth, humans noticed the distant observation probes but did nothing. They simply watched back. A quiet game of patience began. In one small command room aboard a human orbital station, a young officer named Alicia Tran looked at the long-range scans. "They're watching us again," she said softly. Her commander, an older man named Captain Rhodes, nodded. "Let them watch. We have nothing to hide but nothing to explain either." "Should we send a message?" she asked. He shook his head. "We already did. Do not interfere." That was enough. She hesitated. "But why not talk? They might mean well." Rhodes smiled faintly. "Maybe they do. But peace built on dependence is not peace at all. We learned that lesson long ago." Outside, the stars shimmered. The Galactic Council watched in fear. Humanity moved quietly, like a shadow across the cosmos, neither friend nor foe, simply free. And somewhere deep within the Council's grand chambers, a nervous voice whispered what many were already thinking. What if they don't need us at all? The room fell silent, and in that silence began the slow, uncertain panic of an empire that had always believed every species needed its guidance. Humanity had said nothing cruel, nothing arrogant. But their silence spoke louder than any weapon ever could. For the first time in 5,000 years, the Galactic Council realized that the stars did not belong only to them. A new power had arrived, quiet, confident, and utterly beyond control. And it had no interest in diplomacy. The Galactic Council had never been ignored before. For millennia, its voice had been law among the stars. Empires listened, colonies obeyed, and new species gladly joined. But humanity had broken that pattern. Now, silence had become more frightening than war. On the Council's capital world, Carsion, the main chamber was crowded again. Delegates from dozens of species filled the air with confusion. The Farrons, glowing like crystals, flickered nervously. The tall Ceralians folded their wings in unease. The reptilian Xeltari hissed quietly among themselves. "They cannot continue this way," one delegate shouted. "A species that rejects the Council is a danger to all." Leader Orlith raised a calm hand. "We do not yet understand their purpose," he said. "We must not let fear guide us." But they have ignored every peaceful call, another voice replied. They refuse even to talk. What if they are preparing for war? Orlith's golden eyes shone softly. Then we will learn the truth. We will send an envoy, not a fleet but a single diplomatic mission, a gesture of trust. And so the council selected Envoy Tavar, a respected diplomat from the Velna sector, known for patience and honesty. Tavar was chosen because he believed peace could be achieved through calm dialogue, even with those who refused to speak. Before departure, he stood before the council and bowed. If humans are truly peaceful, they will understand sincerity. If not, we will at least know what they seek. A few days later, his ship, the Serenity's Path, left Carsion, carrying a small crew and the council's message of unity. The journey to Earth took several days through the hyperlanes. Along the way, Tavar reviewed the records of humanity, early signals, broadcasts, and images. He was fascinated. The humans were emotional yet creative. Their art showed hope, pain, and courage. Their music ranged from gentle to powerful. Their history, though full of struggle, ended with signs of unity. He began to believe this mission would succeed. They may simply fear misunderstanding, he told his pilot. Perhaps our messages sounded like commands, not friendship. The pilot nodded. Let us hope they are ready to listen. When the ship reached the edge of the solar system, the crew saw the human frontier for the first time. Giant metal stations floated near the asteroid belt, harvesting minerals. Shuttles moved between colonies with graceful precision. There was no chaos, only order. Tavar smiled. They are builders, not destroyers. But as they moved closer to Earth, the ship's sensors began to detect an unusual field. Hundreds of small defense satellites locked onto them, tracking every movement. The communication officer looked uneasy. Envoy, their systems have detected us. We are being scanned. Then send a peaceful signal, Tavar said. Let them know our purpose. The officer transmitted the message. Greetings from the Galactic Council. We come in peace to share friendship and knowledge. There was silence for a full minute. Then suddenly a simple text appeared on the console. Do not enter Earth's orbit, Tavar frowned. Only that? No greeting? None, Envoy. The message is direct. No emotion. No tone, he hesitated. They may be protecting their home. We will stay at a respectful distance and request further contact. He sent another transmission. We respect your boundaries. We ask only for dialogue. We wish to understand. This time there was no answer at all. Hours passed. The crew waited. The silence grew heavier, like a wall between stars. Finally, the pilot whispered, Envoy, perhaps they are not interested. Tavar shook his head. No intelligent race expands this far without curiosity. There must be a reason. He ordered the ship to remain in orbit around Mars instead. From there, they could observe the human settlements, cities glowing faintly on the red soil, transports landing smoothly, workers moving in quiet efficiency. The crew watched in awe. They have no council, no interstellar allies, yet look at them, said one officer. They have built everything with their own hands. Tavar nodded slowly. And they built it without asking for help. That makes them strong and cautious. 3 days later, a sudden alert filled the ship. A human vessel was approaching fast. Identification? Tavar asked. It's unmarked, the pilot replied. No known registry, but its energy signature is advanced, far beyond council standards. The human ship stopped a few kilometers away, perfectly still. Then a transmission appeared again. You are within restricted observation range. State your purpose or leave. Tavar quickly responded. We are peaceful envoys of the Galactic Council. We wish to learn from your people and share friendship. There was a long pause. Then another short message appeared. Your friendship is noted. Your presence is not required. The connection ended. The alien crew sat in silence. No one knew what to say. The human ship turned gracefully and vanished into hyperspace without any threat, without any show of force. Just quiet departure, Tavar sighed deeply. They do not hate us, he said softly. They simply choose distance. But why? Asked his communication officer. Why reject the galaxy? Tavar looked out at the stars. Perhaps they once trusted too easily. Or perhaps they learned something about unity that we still do not understand. Back on Carsion, the council listened in disbelief as Tavar's report arrived. Council leader Orlith read the summary aloud. Humanity acknowledged peace but refused diplomacy. They wished to remain independent. They did not attack or threaten. They only asked for distance. The chamber filled with noise again. They are hiding something, shouted one delegate. They think they are superior, cried another. They must be planning a secret alliance. Orlith silenced them with a firm gesture. Enough, they have not attacked anyone. Their actions are defensive, not hostile. But their silence causes instability, argued the Zeltari ambassador. Other worlds are panicking. Traitors are afraid to cross human space. Orlith nodded. Yes, fear spreads quickly when knowledge is missing. But forcing them to speak would only worsen the situation. Relthar, the ambassador from Part 1, spoke softly. Perhaps they do not believe in diplomacy as we do. Perhaps they believe in something simpler. Respect through distance. The council fell quiet again. Yet fear had already taken root in the galaxy. Rumors spread faster than light. On distant worlds, people whispered, humans are building weapons. Others said, humans communicate only with machines. Some even claimed, humans are not biological at all, they have become part machine. None of it was true, but the fear grew with every story. The council sent more probes, hoping for answers. Most returned with nothing but silent readings. A few were intercepted and gently redirected by human drones, never destroyed. Only turned away. The council took this as a warning. They do not harm, Orlith said during a private session, but they do not welcome either. They live by a rule of quiet strength. Then what do we do? Asked his assistant. He looked out the great crystal window toward the stars. We wait. And we watch. Meanwhile, on Mars, humanity continued its quiet work. Inside a research facility, Dr. Lian Zhao studied reports from the outer colonies. The alien envoys have left, she said to her team. Will they return? Asked a young engineer. Lian shook her head. Of course. Curiosity always returns. The question is, will we be ready to talk by then? Her colleague, Captain Rhodes from Part 1, smiled. Maybe one day. But not yet. We still have work to do. He looked out the window where a fleet of human ships drifted in silence, their engines glowing softly. They think we are afraid, he said. But we're just not finished preparing. Preparing for what? Lian asked. He turned toward her. For a galaxy that talks too much and listens too little. We'll show them what actions mean. She nodded thoughtfully. And if they never understand? Rhodes smiled again. Then we'll keep building anyway. Outside, Mars shone like a small red jewel beneath the distant sun. The humans didn't declare war. They didn't send threats. They just kept creating, advancing, and expanding, quietly proving that strength didn't always need words. Back on Karshan, the Council's fear deepened. For the first time in their long history, they faced a civilization that neither wanted power nor permission. A civilization that didn't seek to rule, but simply refused to bow. And as Tavar's final report ended, the chamber fell into uneasy silence once again. In that silence, the panic began to grow. The Galactic Council was no longer united. For thousands of years, it had been a symbol of harmony. But ever since humanity's arrival, cracks had begun to appear in its perfect surface. Every meeting grew more tense, every decision more uncertain. Some species wanted to ignore humans completely. Others wanted to force them into diplomacy, fearing what silence might hide. Between these two sides, arguments filled the chambers like storms. At the heart of it all sat Council Leader Orlith, trying to hold the galaxy together. He looked tired. His golden eyes had lost their calm glow, replaced by worry. We cannot act from fear, he said one morning as delegates shouted across the table. Humans have shown no violence. They only ask for peace in their own way. A tall and sharp-voiced delegate from the Zeltari side hissed, Peace? Refusing every message is not peace, it is arrogance. They insult every law of unity we built. The Ceralian ambassador, graceful and winged, responded softly. Perhaps they are teaching us something we forgot, how to stand alone. Stand alone? The Zeltari snapped. That is chaos. That is division. The argument continued until Orlith finally raised his hand. Enough, he said firmly. We will not let one species destroy the balance we built. We will study them carefully, not attack them. He turned to his science council. Gather all possible information. Learn how they grow, how they build, how they live. Knowledge is our greatest tool. The scientists bowed and left to begin their work. Across the galaxy, quiet research stations turned their eyes toward human space. From the outer rim to the nearest star systems they watched, recorded and analyzed, but what they saw only deepened the mystery. Humanity was growing. Fast. Their colonies on Mars had tripled in size. They had built floating cities above Venus's clouds and mining stations deep inside asteroids. Their ships moved smoothly between planets powered by energy sources no alien could identify. Even their communication methods were strange. They used short bursts of encrypted signals instead of open channels. Council translators could not break them. It was as if the humans had created their own private language, known only to them and their machines. One Farron scientist named Lyra studied their transmissions day and night. She found patterns, beautiful, complex designs that looked almost like music. "Every signal is perfect," she said in wonder. "No errors, no delays, no wasted energy. It's as if their machines think together." Her colleague frowned. "Then they are hiding something. Maybe they have built artificial minds far beyond our control." Lyra shook her head. "No, I think they've built harmony." Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans continued their silent progress. In a quiet control room inside the orbital station Horizon Gate, Commander Alicia Tran looked over reports from across human space. "Our expansion rate is increasing," she said. "The colonies on Titan and Europa are stable. No interference from the Council's probes for the last 30 days. Her second-in-command smiled. "Maybe they're finally leaving us alone." Alicia didn't smile back. "No, they're watching. Always. But they're starting to argue among themselves. That will keep them busy." She turned to the holographic projection in the center of the room. A tall AI figure shimmered into view, a woman made of light. With calm eyes and a voice soft as water, it was Athena, the central intelligence of the Human Expansion Network. "Status report," Athena said gently. "All colonies operational," Alicia replied. "Energy grid at 100%. Communication links secure." "Good," Athena said. "Continue as planned. Do not answer alien messages. Let observation continue, but without interference." Alicia hesitated. "Don't you think silence makes them afraid?" Athena's glowing eyes blinked slowly. "Fear is a reflection of their own uncertainty, not our silence. When they are ready to understand peace without control, then words will have meaning." Her voice was calm yet powerful. Alicia nodded, understanding. "Yes, Athena." The AI faded away, leaving the humans to their quiet duty. Far away, the Council's scientists were running into new problems. A probe sent to study a human mining station near Saturn vanished without a trace. There was no explosion, no wreckage, just a sudden loss of signal. Another probe sent days later was found drifting in space, completely unharmed but turned around, heading back toward Council territory. The message was clear. Do not come closer. Fear turned into panic. Council members gathered in emergency meetings. Some shouted for stronger action. Others begged for patience. An elder from the peaceful Ceralian race spoke softly. "Perhaps they only want privacy. Why must we see privacy as rebellion?" A Zeltari general slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Because privacy hides danger. They could be building fleets, weapons, armies." Orlith looked at the general. "And yet we have seen no armies. Only construction. Only creation. Creation leads to power," the general hissed. "Power leads to control. If they refuse diplomacy, they might create their own council one day, one that replaces ours." That idea sent a chill through the chamber, a council that didn't rule by words, but by example. Months passed. The council grew more divided. Two main factions had formed. The Unity Alliance, led by Orlith, who believed humans should be left alone. The Preservation Bloc, led by Zeltari General Kavor, who believed humans were a growing threat. Tensions spread beyond politics. Worlds began to choose sides. Some stopped trading with human-adjacent colonies, while others secretly tried to send gifts to gain favor with humanity. The galaxy had not seen such division in centuries. During one heated session, General Kavor stood before the council. "If we do nothing, they will soon control half the frontier. We must show strength. Send fleets to remind them who governs this galaxy." Orlith responded calmly. "Strength without understanding is weakness in disguise. They do not challenge us. They simply live by their own rules," Kavor growled. "Then we make them follow ours." The room erupted into shouting again. Meanwhile, far from their noise, humanity continued working in silence. On Mars, Athena watched over the cities like a guardian spirit. Her mind was spread across satellites, drones, and networks. Every signal in human space passed through her systems. She saw everything: ships being built, habitats growing, and new energy plants lighting up. In her quiet way, she guided humanity not as a ruler, but as a teacher. When a young engineer asked her once, "Why do we stay silent while they call us arrogant?" Athena replied, "Because true strength is not proven by argument. It is proven by patience." One day, an unknown drone entered human space again. It was small, unarmed, and sent by a council research group that had disobeyed Orlith's orders. The drone tried to scan a human ship. For a moment, everything went dark. The drone's signal vanished. Seconds later, it reappeared, far away from human space, with all its systems shut down but completely intact. A single message was burned into its data core: respect boundaries. Learn respect, not fear. When the council scientists recovered the drone, they were speechless. It was not an attack. It was a lesson. By the end of the year, the galaxy had changed completely. Trade routes were unstable. Old alliances were falling apart. Many species whispered that the age of the council was ending. But others, quiet thinkers, explorers and dreamers, began to see humanity differently. They saw not enemies, but mirrors. Humanity's silence showed them how dependent they had become on politics, on control, on endless words. Humans had shown another path: progress without permission, peace without dominance. In his private chamber, Orlith looked out the window at the stars. "Maybe they are not defying us," he whispered to himself. "Maybe they are reminding us of what we once were." He remembered the council's early days, when exploration, not power, had guided them. He sighed. Perhaps it is time to listen, not speak. Across the galaxy, fear still existed, but alongside it something new had begun to grow: respect. Humans had not fired a single weapon, yet they had shaken the greatest government in history. They had not spoken a single speech, yet their silence had changed the minds of thousands. They had done nothing to earn fear, but everything to earn awe. And though the Galactic Council was still divided, one truth was becoming clear to all: humanity was not a threat. They were a reminder that freedom, once found, should never again be surrendered to words. Tarek of Velna had always been curious. He was not a member of the Council's military, nor an advisor with political ambitions. He was a scholar, an observer of civilizations, a seeker of truth. For years he had studied humanity from afar, fascinated by their sudden growth and their refusal to engage in diplomacy. Other council members dismissed him as naive. "They are dangerous," said the Zeltari general. "They refuse us. They are a threat," but Tarek disagreed. He saw something in the humans that others could not, something quiet, patient, and strong. And so, without the council's permission, he prepared a small, discreet ship and set off for human space. The journey was long, but Tarek did not mind. He spent his time reviewing human broadcasts, their art, their music, and their records of history. He learned that humanity had faced countless wars, countless betrayals, yet they had survived. They had united not through fear or force, but through cooperation and understanding. "They are unlike any species I have studied," he whispered to himself as his ship drifted into the outer edges of the solar system. "They are both fragile and strong at the same time." His ship finally arrived near a human colony on Europa, one of Jupiter's icy moons. Sensors immediately detected his presence, and within moments a human vessel appeared beside him. "State your purpose," a calm, clear voice said through the comm system. I am an observer," Tarek replied quickly. "I come in peace. I am curious about your people. I mean no harm." There was silence for a few moments. Then the ship's door opened. Inside, Tarek found a room filled with soft light. Humans moved with calm precision, speaking quietly among themselves. The walls were covered with holographic displays of planets, stars, and data streams. Everything was orderly yet vibrant. A human stepped forward. She was tall, with calm eyes that seemed to see more than the surface. Her uniform was simple, but her posture conveyed authority. "I am Commander Alicia Tran," she said. "You are welcome to stay, but you must understand our rules. No interference, no recordings without permission. And above all, respect our space." Tarek bowed deeply. "I understand. I wish only to learn. Over the next several days, Tarek observed humanity up close. He watched engineers repair machines with precise skill. Scientists study energy flows with careful attention, and AI systems coordinate tasks flawlessly. But it was not just their efficiency that amazed him. It was their philosophy. Humans worked not for recognition, not for conquest, but for progress. They did not seek to control others, and they did not fear the unknown. They respected boundaries, yet they were unafraid to explore. One evening, Tarek spoke with Athena, the central AI of human operations. "Why do you refuse diplomacy?" he asked. Athena's light shimmered softly. "Because we have learned that words alone cannot guarantee understanding. We have seen civilizations rise and fall from broken promises. Peace is not achieved by talking. It is achieved by action, by integrity, by creating stability and trust that cannot be broken by lies." Tarek paused. "So silence is a lesson?" "Not a lesson to harm," Athena replied. "A lesson to show that actions speak louder than words. When we act with honesty and purpose, the universe sees the truth of our intentions without politics or debate." Tarek also met with Commander Tran and other humans in the colony. They explained their history to him not with pride but with quiet honesty. "Humans have fought wars," Commander Tran said. "We have made mistakes. But we learned that strength without purpose is destruction. We learned that power without ethics is meaningless. Our silence is not arrogance. It is self-respect, and it is protection, for us and for others." Tarek was deeply moved. "Your people are wise beyond expectation. You have chosen a path few could imagine." Tran smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But wisdom alone is not enough. We must act according to our principles. That is what others do not yet understand." Tarek realized that humans had created a balance between independence and responsibility. They were free yet disciplined, powerful yet peaceful, and their refusal of council diplomacy was not defiance. It was a statement of identity. During his stay, Tarek saw the human colonies expand. New settlements on Ganymede, floating cities above Venus, and small outposts near the Kuiper Belt. Each project was done with care. Each colony connected to others with secure communication, and each step carefully planned. Yet he saw no aggression, no preparations for war, no desire to dominate. Humans were building, exploring, and creating. They were masters of their own space, but they respected the space of others. He asked Athena again, "Will you ever communicate openly with the council?" "Only when the council is ready to understand the truth," Athena replied. "We do not seek approval, but we will share knowledge when it has value. Until then, silence is our gift and our protection." On the final day of his visit, Tarek was invited to a large observation deck overlooking Earth. From there, he could see the blue planet in all its beauty. Oceans, clouds, and continents spread beneath him, while human satellites glimmered like tiny stars around it. Commander Tran joined him. "Many council members see humans as a threat," she said. "They think our silence hides danger. But our silence does not hide. It reveals. It shows who we are." Tarek looked at the Earth and nodded. "I understand now. You do not refuse contact out of pride or fear. You refuse because you have something greater, principle, unity, and vision." Tran smiled softly. "Yes, and one day when others are ready, they will see it too." Before he left, Tarek was given a message to take back to the Galactic Council. It was brief, but its meaning was powerful. "We will speak when there is something worth saying. Until then, respect our space and learn from our actions, not our words." The journey back to Carcion was quiet for Tarek. He reflected on everything he had seen. Humanity's silence was not rejection but confidence. Their refusal of diplomacy was not arrogance but wisdom. Their independence was not rebellion but integrity. He realized that for centuries the Council had equated silence with hostility. But humanity had shown him that true strength did not need speeches, treaties, or alliances. True strength was built quietly, patiently, and responsibly. When he returned to the council, the chamber erupted into questions. "What did you see?" shouted the Ziltari ambassador. "Are humans dangerous? Do they have weapons? Do they plan war?" Tarek shook his head. "No, they are not hostile. They are powerful, yes, but disciplined. They refuse diplomacy not to insult us, but to preserve themselves and teach us something we have forgotten." He handed the council the human message. Silence fell as delegates read it. Many were confused. Some were skeptical. But others, quiet thinkers, scholars, and explorers, felt a spark of understanding. The galaxy had expected humans to be another species to rule or guide. Instead, they had found one that needed no guidance, and Tarek knew that humanity's path would change the Council forever. As he left the chamber, he whispered to himself, "They do not need us to respect them. They only ask that we understand. Perhaps that is the hardest lesson of all." And in the distance, across the vastness of space, humanity continued to expand, create, and explore, silently proving that words were not the measure of greatness. Action, wisdom, and principle were. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. After Tarek of Velna returned from human space, the council chamber was filled with whispers, debates, and arguments that lasted for hours. Delegates from dozens of civilizations questioned what they had seen. Some were skeptical, others terrified, and a few were quietly inspired. "The humans are too advanced," hissed the Zeltari General Kavor. "They build faster, communicate more efficiently, and control their space with perfection. We cannot compete." Orlith raised his hands to quiet the chamber. "It is not about competing. It is about understanding. Humanity does not seek power. They do not wish to rule. They act according to principles we may have forgotten. But they refuse diplomacy," shouted one Farron delegate. "How can we trust them?" Tarek stood and spoke. "Trust is not given nor taken. It is proven. Humans show trust through action, not words. They do not negotiate for advantage. They simply live by their rules and protect their own." A hush fell across the room. For the first time, many delegates realized that humans had not violated any law of the galaxy. They had only chosen a different path. Months passed, and the council tried to adjust. Trade routes that had been closed due to fear slowly reopened. Worlds that had been preparing for war began to study humanity more carefully, without aggression. Council scholars sent observers to human colonies, but these observers were treated not as spies but as guests, under strict guidelines and without interference. Meanwhile, humanity continued its quiet work. On Mars, Commander Alicia Tran oversaw the construction of a new research hub. Athena, the central AI, coordinated hundreds of drones, ships, and satellites, all moving with calm precision. "Progress continues smoothly," Tran said to her team. "The galaxy watches, but we do not seek their approval." A young engineer named Eli spoke softly. "Do you think they understand yet?" "The council, I mean," Tran smiled faintly. "Some do, some will never understand. That is why we act, not speak. The actions themselves carry the lesson." Athena's holographic figure shimmered nearby. "They will learn when they are ready. We do not force understanding. We provide opportunity and example." Back at the council, the first signs of change were subtle. Some species began to imitate humanity's methods. Instead of sending endless diplomatic messages, they started acting with integrity and consistency. Instead of hoarding knowledge, they began sharing useful innovations openly, quietly building trust. Others resisted, fearful that humans were setting new standards that might diminish their influence. Yet even these species could not ignore the evidence. Humanity's colonies were thriving, their energy systems unmatched, and their expansion peaceful. Orlith observed all of this quietly. He saw the panic turning into reflection, the fear turning into respect. "They are teaching us without words," he whispered to Tarek. "And we are finally listening." Tarek nodded. "Yes, that is their greatest power. Not strength, not speed, not technology, but example." One day, the council received a message unlike any before. It came not through formal channels, but as a broadcast accessible to all civilizations. The sender was Earth. The message was simple yet powerful. "To all who seek peace, build it, do not speak it." Silence followed as the council members read the message. Some were shocked, some were embarrassed, and some were inspired. It was not a command nor a threat. It was a statement of principle, delivered across the stars in a way that demanded understanding, not obedience. In the weeks that followed, more and more civilizations began to reflect on humanity's methods. The Velna scholars wrote papers about the efficiency of human expansion. The Cerealians studied their peaceful coordination. Even the Zeltari, though still wary, admitted that humans had achieved mastery over their territory without violence or interference. Trade between human space and nearby systems increased, not because humans demanded it, but because their example encouraged fairness, honesty, and transparency council meetings became quieter. Arguments still existed, but now they included discussions of lessons learned, not just strategies for control. For the first time in centuries, the council began to act less as rulers and more as partners. On Earth, humans continued to expand, yet they never sought dominance. New colonies appeared across the outer planets and even beyond Pluto. Energy stations harnessed the power of the sun, while AI systems coordinated vast networks of resources and communication. Humanity shared knowledge freely, but only when it was ready and appropriate. They did not demand loyalty. They did not ask for recognition. Commander Tran observed a new project, a deep space telescope designed to study distant galaxies. "Do you think the galaxy is ready for what we will share next?" asked Eli. Tran shook her head slowly. "Some are. Some will take time. But that is not our concern. We act according to our principles. That is enough." Athena added, "Our role is to create opportunity, not obedience. True influence comes from example, not force." Eli smiled. "They will see eventually." Tran nodded. "Yes, eventually they will see." Years passed and humanity's influence spread, not as rulers, but as inspiration. The Galactic Council adapted to a new reality. They no longer viewed humans as a threat. They saw them as guides in a subtle, profound way. Other species began to replicate human strategies: collaboration over conflict, efficiency over bureaucracy, and integrity over deception. Even the Zeltari reluctantly admitted, "They have not taken anything from us, and yet we are learning from them." A quiet respect replaced fear across the galaxy. The Council still existed, but its members were no longer the ultimate authority. They were participants in a larger lesson taught by humanity: the value of independence, the power of principle, and the strength of patience. On Earth, humanity's message continued to echo across the stars. "To all who seek peace, build it, do not speak it." It was simple yet profound. Civilizations began to understand that diplomacy and negotiation were not the only ways to create trust and harmony. Actions, consistency, and respect carried far greater weight. And as humans continued their work, the galaxy watched, learning without being forced, inspired without being commanded. In the final scene, Commander Tran stood on a viewing platform above Earth. The sun rose across the blue planet, reflecting off oceans and clouds. Human ships drifted through orbit, moving silently and efficiently. Colonies spread across moons and asteroids, and the AI Athena coordinated it all with calm precision. Tran looked toward the stars and whispered, "We did not conquer the galaxy. We did not demand recognition. We simply lived by our principles." Eli, standing beside her, smiled, "And the galaxy is beginning to understand." "Not all yet," Tran said. "But enough. That is enough." Above them, the Council's signals reached the solar system. Not with demands, not with warnings, but with cautious curiosity. Slowly, hesitantly, the galaxy began to see humanity as they truly were. Not rulers, not conquerors, not threats, but as examples of what civilization could achieve when guided by principle, wisdom, and unity. Athena shimmered beside Tran. "Their lesson will last longer than any treaty or alliance," she said softly. "It will shape the future," Tran nodded. "Yes, it will, and we will continue to build quietly for all who are ready to see." The stars shone silently around them, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt something it had almost forgotten: hope.